Hiya! Welcome! This is Records Roundup number 71, and I've got loads of stuff to show you today. I'm recording this the day before I'm due another couple of records, but I wanted to get this filmed today just because A, I've got some time, and B, the two that are new releases, well, one new release, one reissue, I can show you next time. And one of those is from an act who I'll be showing you in this Records Roundup anyway. Right then, let's just get going, and I'll try not to keep you too long, but you'll know the time of the video before I do, as I'm recording it now, so you'll see whether I manage to keep this fairly nippy or not. Right then, first purchase is one from Amazon, and this is thanks to my friend, my best mate Dan, who sent me £30 in Amazon gift credit for my birthday recently. I decided to use it towards this. The total price, I think, was about £30, 50 something. Weird prices from Amazon. Also came from America as well. There was still free postage for being a Prime member, but it was imported from the US. But I think this is actually a worldwide release. It isn't a US exclusive or anything. It is an Amazon exclusive though, because it is the Amazon exclusive of Through the Past Darkly, Big Hits Volume 2 by the Rolling Stones. And this is a first, and could well be a last, maybe, because it's my first octagonal record sleeve. So as you can see, it's got the Amazon Music magenta vinyl exclusive hype there. I got the volume 1 big hits, which was High Tide and Green Grass, and I think it was the last or the previous Records Roundup 69 that showed you that. That was half price, just standard black vinyl edition at Resident Records. And then with my birthday gift from my best friend, I was looking at vinyl on Amazon, seen what I fancied, and yeah, I fancied getting this. It's in this octagonal sleeve, which I think it came out like this originally. It's no doubt been reissued in a more conventional format. I do want to get it open though and look at the magenta vinyl. I'm a little worried though that I'm gonna nose up the cellophane on here, what with it being such a peculiar shape for a record, but we'll see. So I've made a slit in the 3 sides at the right, which seems weird to say for a record. So I wonder if I can slide anything out here. I think I need to cut that section a bit more. That might make it easier. I'll cut this bit as well. If I'm able to conserve the hype sticker properly, I'll be amazed, because it's just such a weird thing to open and try and keep the cellophane on. I'm kind of in. Ah, there we go. So there's your inner. Also octagonal, 8-sided. It's not an 8-sided record. I don't think such a thing exists, although if anyone can prove me wrong there, please send me along some images. There we go. Magenta. That's looking very dark on camera, but it's sort of like a dark purpley pink really. Maybe it'll show up as being a bit brighter after editing. It's got the Decca replica of the old 60s centre label there. Very nice. It also replicates what would have been something resembling the original inner as well. So yeah, not really a essential addition to the Stones collection, but as I say, I'd got the first 1960s hits compilation. This of course originally came out late 60s, partly as like a kind of tribute to Brian Jones, who we see on the sleeve there at the bottom left. Yeah, I think what I'll probably do, I'm going to try and peel that off carefully and then stick it on the actual sleeve itself, because I think this cellophane that's on it has had its day now. But there we go, Rolling Stones, Big Hits Volume 2, aka Through the Past Darkly.
We don't care if you have me and love goes around. We love it in our minds, we love you. You will never win, your uniforms don't fit. We've got enemies where it goes. We love you, of course we do.
Next is a pickup from Dig Vinyl in Liverpool, a site I've been using an awful lot in recent weeks and months. This was actually something that I ordered at HMV, but it was one of their back in stock soon records. And I've ordered those before, and it's not usually been that much of a wait. And I was prepared to wait for this. I wasn't desperate to have it. It was a good price at HMV, and similarly, it was a good price at Dig. But HMV, they sent me a couple of emails just saying, oh, we haven't got it in stock yet. We'll keep your order open. And eventually, they just emailed me saying, we're not going to get it in stock again. Here's your refund. So fair enough. I knew that Dig Vinyl had a copy at a similar price, a little bit more because I did pay postage, where at HMV, because I'd placed that order with a couple of other things, the postage was free. So a little bit more really from Dig, but still under £20 I think, including postage, for another Bananarama LP. This one is True Confessions, part of the Bananarama reissue campaign. You've seen a few of these on the channel now. I've decided I want to get them all the early Bananarama albums that have been reissued this way. I think there's just two that I'm missing now. The second album, which is self-titled, and Pop Life. And hopefully I'll be picking those up from somewhere for a decent price sooner rather than later. A little look at the back. It's got the hype on it. Usual sort of deal with these. It's coloured vinyl and you get a CD that's replicating the album with some extended mixes and things as well. I will get this open and show you if I can do it successfully enough. I've had trouble with opening Bananarama sleeves in the past, but hopefully today you won't be one of them. Oh, that's all good. Ah, that's nice. It's got the inner sleeve with the centre hole cut out. I do like to see that actually. It's fairly uncommon really. There again. I think it's because I'm recording this in the evening and it's technically still daylight outside, but the sun, although it's been a day where the sun's not really been out anyway, the artificial light I've got in here just is meaning some of this vinyl ain't showing up as well as I'd hoped. But I'm sure you can tell that it's, to me, looking quite a dark green. I was expecting it to be more lighter, but it is green vinyl nonetheless. And as I always do, I will check that the CD is in here as well. Yes, it is. So there we go. I do like these dual LP and CD sets. I would be happy with just the LP. In fact, their Wow album, which was reissued as part of this campaign, but then it got another reissue a few years later as a HMV exclusive just on white vinyl, and that's the edition I've got. That doesn't have the CD with it, but that's fine. But this one does. Very happy to be continuing the Bananarama or the Peak Bananarama Years collection, as I'm not interested in anything after Please Yourself, particularly there with True Confessions. On now to a couple of pickups from Atlas Records. Actually bought three things, but I'm only going to show you two because you've already seen one of them, and it was the New Order Back to Mine Various Artists compilation that I showed in the last New Order vinyl special that I said I wasn't going to do, and then it turned out I could make quite a long video out of what I did subsequently pick up. But I got two other things as well. This one, and it was 20% off sale as well. I can't remember if there was a code involved or whether it just applied the discount automatically. But it meant this album, in a format that I collect this band in, was a really good price. I think it only wound up being a bit over £15. And it is The Who's compilation, Meaty, Beaty, Big and Bouncy. So this is a half-speed remaster edition. It's not one with an Obi strip or anything, as what you might be used to seeing from me on this channel relating to The Who. But this one hasn't been reissued in that form, but it is still a half-speed remaster. You can tell from the hype there. I think this edition was... It does say on screen, but I'm trying to think still. 2017's ringing a bell. What it says on screen may have contradicted me. As you can see, it is pre-owned. It's been separated out. I'm not going to bother getting it all open and out of this protective sleeve here at the moment. But they do class both the sleeve and the vinyl itself as near mint. And yeah, I thought this was a really good deal. They tend to sell more sort of older vinyl at Atlas. Stuff like your classic rock, like The Who, The Beatles, Pink Floyd, etc. That sort of stuff tends to be like, if not original pressings, then not far after. Whereas The Who, I've been collecting their half-speed masters, and I looked on Discogs, I saw that there wasn't a subsequent release of this with the Obi. This one was in near mint condition, according to the site. A hits compilation, I think all the singles they released, or the majority of them from the 60s, and maybe a couple of other things as well. The Who's Meaty, Beaty, Big and Bouncy, half-speed master. And the other thing from Atlas Records, this will be the first of a few from this group, is a 7-inch single. I've quite a few singles to show you, mostly by the one artist, but there is a different group later on. I bought their debut album, Spartacus, quite recently. Really enjoyed it. I've had their second album, Love See No Colour, for a long time on mini disc. Great album as well. They have got a third studio album. The name escapes me at the moment. I don't think that came out on vinyl. It certainly didn't come out on mini disc. I might try and pick up the CD at some point, but I decided I want to get the 7-inch singles from this group, particularly as I got sent a couple as VCLT from Not Suitable for Mum a couple of months ago, and they're just such a good singles band, as well as me enjoying the albums. I thought, you know, I can pick all these 7-inch singles up pretty cheap. I might as well just have that as a bit of a mini collection, really. I'm talking about The Farm, and this from Atlas Records is their cover of the Human League's Don't You Want Me. Once again, they've graded it, sleeve and disc, at near mint for both. It does say what side B of this single is, so I'm not going to get this open and tell you. But there we go, Don't You Want Me by The Farm. However, I didn't want to spend too long on that because I've got more Farm to show you. The next bunch of pickups are all from Discogs. I think most of these are from the same Discogs seller, actually. But I might be wrong there. There's a lot that I've got and it's all kind of jumbled up in my head as to who it's from. But these next few are from Discogs, and I think at least these next 3 singles and couple of albums are from the one seller. So here's another Farm single, Groovy Train. This was their breakthrough hit, 1990 top 10 hit. And on this particular 7-inch single, it's Groovy Train on side 1 and the Jumped at 3:30 AM mix on side 2. Little look at the disc, but yeah, these are all going to look pretty similar. And I thought, oh, this one does have the silver injection centre label as opposed to the paper centre label. Good single, always liked it. Not my very favourite Farm single, but it's a good one nonetheless. My mouth's starting to feel dry, so I'm going to have a slurp of my drink before we continue. We move on to what would have been the final single from Spartacus, and it's Don't Let Me Down. These singles are all pretty cheap. The one from Atlas, Don't You Want Me, was £3-ish, I think, if that. If it was less than £3 because it had a 20% discount. And these ones here from Discogs were a couple of quid each, I believe, if that. So Don't Let Me Down, yeah, same kind of centre label. A-side is Don't Let Me Down, and the B-side is the Terry Farley remix of it. So that's that one. And then finally, I say finally, it's not actually finally regarding the farm, as you'll see in a bit, but we'll get to that. But for now, finally, is this one. It's really more of a Pete Wiley single, but it's his duet with the farm, and given that the farm are credited prominently on it, I wanted to pick it up for the collection. This is Sinful, with brackets, Scary Jigging with Dr. Love. So Sinful was a relatively big hit for Pete Wiley. His first big solo single in the mid-80s, and some years later, early 90s, he re-recorded it with the farm, so you could call it a remix, sort of, or just a redo, a re-recording. This did alright in the chart. I think it definitely got top 40. I always thought it was a live version, but I don't think it is. I've not actually listened to this in an awful long time. I always liked the original single, great song, Sinful, by Pete Wiley, and he's sort of a friend of the farm. He's never been in the band, but you've seen him in videos for like All Together Now and things like that. So he's quite associated with them. So it makes sense for them to work together at least once, which they did for this version of Sinful. Moving away from 7-inch singles, at least for a little while, and moving on to a couple of albums. I think these albums are also from the same seller where I got those farm singles there. And I've been saying that I want to fill the holes in my Monty Python collection. Well, I've done that. I've not completed it. I know there's one album in particular that I'm still missing, and there might be another one I'm forgetting about. But I wanted to get these two. This one is the first album, Monty Python's Flying Circus, although it's credited on the back as the worst of the Flying Circus. Now, those with good memories will probably remember I've actually shown this on the channel before, but it was a very tatty copy. The sleeve was knackered, basically. And I saw that I could get this, and the seller was calling it, for its age, near mint. And to be fair, for an album that was out in, what, the copyright's 1970, look how nice and new this sleeve is. Someone's kept this in lovely condition, really nice. Obviously I've not played the vinyl yet, but I'm sure it'll play fine. I've been lucky in that respect with most older second-hand records that I've got, with a couple of exceptions. But just such a great condition copy, and it wasn't expensive either. £4 or £5, I think. So this is an upgrade, really, for me, Monty Python, and their debut album, if you will, Flying Circus, which I think was recorded as a live album, if memory serves. There might be some information on screen about that, but yeah, just as an upgrade thing. I'm not going to send my other copy out because I don't think it's in good enough condition to pass it on to anyone. This is just a straight swap, really. There we go, Monty Python and the worst of the Flying Circus. But we have more Python to show you, because this was the follow-up album, and this is one I've been wanting to get for a while, certainly since I decided I was going to start collecting all the Monty Python albums. This is another Monty Python record. Yes, it's meant to look like that before anyone starts asking. Yeah, you know what they're like, those nutty lads. There again, really nice condition, this. Just, it's been kept, like the other Python album, been kept in near mint condition, really. And it's got all its inserts. There's like cutouts here. Let me see if I can show you some of these in better detail. I say cutouts, I don't think they're perforated, but if you really wanted to cut them out, I suppose you could. I wouldn't, because it means your album depreciates value instantly. It's got its original inner, which is also in lovely condition. I was so delighted. They were advertised as being, you know, really nice condition for their age, but I was a bit sort of skeptical. But turns out, fair play to this seller, he was totally right. Another insert there with some diagram and instructions for something or other on it. Anything else in it? Yeah, there's something else in it. So you get a lot of bits here that would have been, for most copies of this, just lost or damaged over time. This looks like a little sort of playbill, really, for All Quiet on the Western Front and also Taste of Evil. So yeah, it's got all its original freebies and bump in it. Really, really nice, and not expensive either. I'm really chuffed with this seller, particularly for the albums and just how nice condition they are. Oops, forgetting to put this insert back. So there we go, 2 more Python records added to the collection. As I say, I think there's certainly 1 more live album that I need, and I'll double check to see if I'm not forgetting anything else, but the Python collection isn't far from being completed now. That is another Monty Python record.
Hello, children. Hello. Here is this morning's story. Are you ready? Then we'll begin. One day, Ricky the Magic Pixie went to visit Daisy Bumble in her tumble-down cottage. He found her in the bedroom. Roughly, he grabbed her heavy shoulders, pulling her down onto the bed and ripping off her... Old Nick, the sea captain, was a rough, tough, jolly sort of fellow. He loved the life of the sea, and he loved to hang out down by the pier, where the men dressed as ladies... Rumpeltweezer ran the Dinky Tinky shop, in the foot of the magic oak tree, by the wobbly dum-dum bush, in the shade of the magic glade, down in Dingley Dell. Here he sold contraceptives and... Discipline, naked... with a melon?
I think the final thing from this seller on Discogs was, and this is going to be a recurring theme in this video as well, a James Bond soundtrack. So the last records roundup was the 0070 edition, the James Bond soundtrack special. I showed, I can't remember, was it 5 or 6 LPs, all Bond film soundtracks. Last month, of course, was Bond month here on the channel, but you knew that I wasn't just going to rest at those and then leave that collection to kind of do nothing. I've gone on a bit of a Bond splurge over the last few weeks, and you're going to see quite a few of these, and I've got more on the way in the post as well. This one is Live and Let Die. I think this, out of the 3 albums, because this was the same seller as the 2 Python albums, this was actually the one that was classed as the least good condition, but I think they still classed it as very good plus, and yeah, looks pretty good to me. Nothing really much to see as far as the inner sleeve's concerned. Not coloured vinyl, obviously. It's an original pressing, I think, this one. Yeah, it will be. But I'm happy, very happy, in fact, with the condition of this. Live and Let Die, of course, has the theme of the same name from Wings, and the score was provided in the majority by Mr. George Martin.
You used to say, live and let live. But if this ever-changing world in which we live in makes you give in and cry, say live and let die. Live and let die. Live and let die. Live and let
Now we move on to a bunch of eBay pickups and more Bond soundtracks. So yeah, the sleeve for this, I just grabbed it and it's coming apart at the seams, so I need to be a little bit careful. It looks good enough, you know, it's just, as you can see, it's kind of getting unglued after all these years. But this one is The Man with a Golden Gun, a John Barry score on United Artists. I believe this is an original UK pressing. The price I think this one and the next one were from the same seller, and one was sort of close to 20 and the other was a little bit over 10, so about £30 plus a bit of postage all in. Comparing the prices that I saw on eBay with Discogs, these seem reasonable, so thought I'd take a punt on these from eBay. Man with the Golden Gun, of course, the theme is by Lulu. Then also from the same eBay seller is this one, For Your Eyes Only. There again, how's the sleeve doing? I think the sleeve might be in better condition for this. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be coming unglued. On the Liberty label, I believe it's an original pressing, I think. Or is it a reissue? No, I think it's an original one. Anyway, doesn't matter, I just want the soundtracks on vinyl where possible. There's some, like the 90s ones I'm thinking of, GoldenEye onwards, that haven't come out on vinyl to the best of my knowledge. So whether they'll ever get a reissue, I'd have thought they would at some point, but I might have to start looking for the CDs eventually. But while ever I can fill these vinyl gaps in the Bond collection, I will. That one is For Your Eyes Only. And also from eBay, but this one was from a different eBay seller. This one, did I win an auction or was it buy it now? I think I won the auction for this. In fact, yeah, I'm certain I did. Not bad condition sleeve, seen better. This one is Octopussy, so the 1983 Bond film, Roger Moore's penultimate film before A View to a Kill as 007. And the theme on this, of course, is by Rita Coolidge, All Time High. Not a bad condition sleeve, really. I'm not too worried about exactly how nice some of these are, as long as they kind of, you know, they're not totally shabby and I've not overpaid. And this one, I think I got it for around 15-ish, give or take. So there we go, Octopussy, once again, another John Barry score, lyrics by Tim Rice. Right then, so we can move away from Bond temporarily and go on to a completely different act and go back to 7-inch singles. This was a purchase that I made. I was just looking at the Discogs database for this band because I've been collecting them on vinyl in recent months and years, and I just wondered if they had any stuff that was quite reasonably priced related to 7-inch singles. And while this single on Discogs, I think it was mostly international sellers who were asking sort of 25, 30 plus for it, I decided to just do a search for it on eBay, and as luck would have it, one person within the UK was selling it on eBay for I think about $12.95, free postage, and it is this single from Cooler Shaker, Let Love Be With You. B-side is Dreams of Rock and Roll. Let Love Be With You is a single from K 2.0, their album from 2016. The copyright says on there. There we go, it's not coloured vinyl, but I've got a fair amount of Cooler Shaker on vinyl now. I've got Peace Wheel, their most recent single, that came out on like a kind of glittery browny gold vinyl. And when I saw I could get this on eBay, a bit of an impulsive purchase because there's plenty of early Cooler Shaker singles, like from their peak Britpop years in the mid-90s, that I've not even really properly looked at yet. If and when I do want to fill in my Cooler Shaker singles gaps, then this is a nice start. As first one, we are back to Discogs. I told you this video's all over the place. I kind of like to group these sales together, go from one company or website to the other, but I've not really been able to do that today, but it doesn't matter. And the same with the artists as well. You're going to see artists and licenses that I've already talked about. So let's get this open. A purchase of 2 albums and 1 single. Oh, and the seller, it's a Discogs seller, but their company is called Retro Rarity, and they're based in somewhere near Cardiff, as it's got a Cardiff postcode, but I'm not going to try and pronounce that place name. Total price of this order, I think, including postage, it was about 32, 33. Let's get these out carefully, as there's a couple of pretty old albums in there. That's probably giving you a bit of a clue. I don't want to lose a 7-inch single. I think that's come in a separate sealed mailer here. So the single is another Farm one. Yep, I've been filling a lot of these Farm singles gaps, and when I saw that this seller, I wanted to get these albums from anyway, but I thought I'd do a search for the Farm. This came up, so I added it to the basket. Love See No Colour, and quite unusually for a single of this age, it is on clear vinyl, which I kind of get because Love See No Colour, there's no colour to the vinyl, it's clear. So that's nice to get a 30 plus year 7-inch single on non-black vinyl there. Love See No Colour by the Farm, not much else I can say about it. But the two albums I was delighted with. I think one of these, the sleeve condition, is only classed as good plus, so I'm not expecting absolutely pristine, but we'll see. But it is a reissue in the Golden Film Music series of the second Bond movie soundtrack, From Russia With Love. One of my all-time favourite Bond films. It's probably been my second favourite actually for many years. Love this film so much. It's just a cut above, and I love all the Bond franchise really, but there's something about From Russia With Love. Those scenes on the train are just some of the best scenes in cinema history as far as I'm concerned. Not that I consider myself much of a film buff. Oh, and it does have what looks like its original inner as well, which is quite a surprise. We've got all sorts of advertising bump on it. This was, I think, a mid-70s reissue. The original album came out on mono and stereo. This one is a stereo reissue. I didn't really care which I got as long as I was paying a good price for it. I do like sort of 60s mono albums, like the Beatles in mono, the Rolling Stones in mono. I do think those sort of bands and that sort of music and that era sounds good in a mono sound rather than proper stereo. But anyway, I'm not going to get bogged down in all that right now. Brilliant film. Great soundtrack with the theme from Matt Monro, of course. That's all I can say about From Russia With Love, really. However, probably just as exciting as to get the soundtrack from Russia With Love is to get the soundtrack from On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Another one of my all-time favourite Bond films. And this is, or it was, he might have changed his mind since then, but this was, for a long time, Mr. Martin Harris's favourite Bond film as well, and I think one of his favourite scores, I would think, as well. This one is actually a gatefold. This might be the sleeve that was classed as good plus. Tell you what, I think they've slightly undergraded these. I'm no expert on grading, so I'm going to shut up about it basically. That's probably not the original inner because it looks too new and clean, but it doesn't matter to me one iota. This one, I think this is quite rare to be honest, and to get this at what, it would have worked out maybe 15-ish, because it was purchased with two other things. Really, really delighted. You know, not that many of these available, particularly at a halfway reasonable price. There's, of course, George Lazenby, who I still think is the most underrated Bond. If you can underrate someone who you can only judge their performance on one film, because that's all he ever did. But, you know, a lot of people criticise Lazenby, slag him off. If he'd done more Bond, I think he would have been more accepted into the role, and he did a great job for this film. I'm not going to get into the whys and wherefores, he didn't do any more, but it's a brilliant film, as is From Russia With Love. This one is a top 5 Bond film, might even be pushing top 3 for me really, as it's fantastic. And of course it's got the beautiful Louis Armstrong's We Have All the Time in the World on here as well. So that completes, you'll be pleased to know, all the James Bond movie soundtracks for the day, and there's no more Farm singles either, you'll also be delighted to hear. That is On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Right, one more pickup, and this is the grail of the bunch, or the expensive one of the bunch. This, I'd had a saved search on eBay for this for a long time, and for the one remaining vinyl album of hers that I want. This came up. Ultimately, it probably wasn't a lot cheaper than what I could have picked it up internationally on Discogs, but you know, eBay, the tracking is pretty good there when ordering from America, because it always goes to one of those sort of distribution centres first where they check it over, etc. So even though you're paying extra in taxes and what have you, at least it feels like you're getting a little bit sort of extra service for your money. But anyway, the price of this totally was a little bit over £90. Yeah, and it is a US pressing, which for this artist will be a first for me. But it's a reissue that never originally came out on vinyl when it first came out in the year 2000, I think. And it is A Day Without Rain by Enya. There we can see it's been separated out there on Reprise Records, which is the big indicator as to whether it's a US release or the European WEA release. I do have this on mini disc, but I've been doubling up on Enya, as people might be able to remember, as I did pick up a fair few of her albums a few months ago. But this one, and the only other one now that I need on vinyl, is And Winter Came. They're the two that were the rarest and most difficult, or just downright expensive to get somewhere like Discogs and eBay. As I say, these rarely come up on eBay, and when this one did, I think I made a best offer, so I did save a little bit, but it wouldn't have worked out an awful lot, maybe £10-12 I saved, but I still had taxes to pay and stuff, which took it over the £90 mark. You know what a big Enya fan I am. Yes, I have the album already, but she's an artist though I love so much, I want to double up on with the albums. And this is a great album. I ranked it number 2 in my Enya ranking, but I think on a different day it'd probably be number 1. This one and Shepherd Moon, they're just both so excellent. It's difficult for me to really pick a favourite out of them, but on the day, A Day Without Rain did end up finishing number 2, but perhaps it's my favourite. Obviously I'll be listening to it again very soon, now that I've got it on vinyl, so it might become my favourite permanently, we shall see. But there we go. I'm not going to show you the vinyl, it's not coloured. That is A Day Without Rain.
Every summer song, every winter evening, every spring to come, every autumn evening, you don't need a reason, let it all go on and
And that's your records roundup number 71. As I say, I wasn't going to do this today because there was still a couple more things. One of them will be coming tomorrow because I've been tracking it. The other thing, it's out tomorrow, but I've not had any confirmation it's been sent yet, so that might have ended up being at least a day or two late anyway. So you'll see those in records roundup 72, and I look forward to being able to present that and all the other vinyl that I've been buying to you in that video coming along later this month, no doubt. But thank you all for watching this one. I want to give special thanks, as always, to my wonderful subscribers and generous patrons. I'm going to go now, finish off my Britvic 55 here. Yes, we're very 1980s in this house. And I'm going to go and sort out all this vinyl here. Massive backlog, always is, but it's fun getting down it. And I do hope that all of you will join me again next time for my next records roundup and record collecting video. Cheers everyone. See ya!